Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
With James DeGale losing his IBF super middleweight title at the weekend just gone on the Frank Warren show against Caleb Truax in a bit of a shock defeat, Eddie Hearn has called Frank Warren amateur because of the way that he's handled the whole situation with James DeGale, with the fact that there's no rematch clause in the contract. And as a champion making a voluntary defence, it's standard protocol because you never know what's going to happen in a fight. And his point behind this was, why would you not do that? You would have to be off your mind to not put in a rematch clause in this contract, because anything can happen. As confident as you may be of the victory, anything can happen. Bigger shocks have happened in the boxing world before, and they will continue to happen. And champions need to be ensuring that there are rematch clauses in the contracts. Now, he also said that Frank Warren, if you notice his reaction after the fight, was pretty much, I don't really care. And the reason for that is because James DeGale goes where the money is, and he doesn't tie himself down with Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren or anybody like that. The only kind of person that he's really tied down with is Al Heyman, because he has this delusion that he's going to become a big superstar in America. Well, that didn't work out at all, not even close to it. He wasn't accepted over there. So he comes back home, tail between the legs, and ends up fighting in front of 7,000 at the Copper Box and loses. So, of course, now he's going to have to negotiate a contract to try and get his title back if he still has a desire. And he's going to be getting peanuts for it in comparison. He's going to be the B side. Caleb Truax is the A side in this one now. And it should never have been that way. First of all, James DeGale should never have lost. But most importantly, he should have ensured that there was a rematch clause in the contract. And that was down to Al Heyman and, of course, Frank Warren in particular. And for whatever reason, they didn't think it was necessary. And it goes to show that Frank Warren just didn't really care about James DeGale, as it was only a few years ago they had some kind of legal dispute between themselves. So for him, whether James DeGale wins, loses or what, does he really care? Not really. Not really. But at the same time, you could argue that he paid over the odds for James DeGale to fight as a headliner on his card. So you could probably argue that he does care, because he's not getting a return for his money, right? But either way, why would you not put a rematch clause in the contract? That's standard. Any champion should put a rematch clause in the contract every single time that they can. I think the only time you possibly can't or shouldn't is if you're fighting your mandatory. But even then, if you can try and get away with it, you do it. I mean, Vladimir Klitschko did that with Tyson Fury when Tyson Fury was Vladimir Klitschko's mandatory. Yet somehow he managed to get a rematch clause in there. And Vladimir Klitschko did that for every single one of his fights. Anthony Joshua also has that, because you never know what's going to happen. It just takes that one punch to change all of it. And in round number 5, when James DeGale is getting peppered by Truax, I'm shocked that he managed to survive that round, never mind going to a points decision. But he didn't do enough in that fight to win, and he clearly lost. And Frank Warren said, yeah, James DeGale lost and he deserved to lose. So if you're acting as promoter, then first of all, you show a little bit of compassion, you know? But instead, he just looks at James DeGale as a business venture. And James DeGale looks at Frank Warren as a business venture. He goes where the money is. And throughout history, any fighter who fights purely for money as the number one goal ends up losing. And James DeGale is exactly that. On top of all that, he's been criticising fighters for a long, long time now. Other fighters like Chris Eubank Jr., George Groves, Carl Froch, all these kind of ones. And suddenly they're bit back. And deservedly so. And it's like I always say, if you're going to criticise people when you've got a fight coming up, how about don't? Get your fight done first. And then after you get the win, go criticise. So the whole thing was one big mess. And Frank Warren has to take a lot of blame for that. And Eddie Hearn is absolutely correct that Frank Warren, as a minimum, should have made sure there was a rematch clause in there, because Caleb Truax would have signed it for sure. Why would he not? So either way, they didn't, and if Truax wanted to, he could go off and unify with one of the other champions. He could do whatever he wants. He could have a voluntary himself. Now, he does not have to give James DeGale a rematch, and that will put James DeGale on the shelf in oblivion somewhere. And he's done it to himself because, like I said, he went to America before he become a star in the UK. I mean, that's the way to do it. You have to become a star in the UK and then try and crack America. You don't crack America when you're virtually a nobody in the UK, when you haven't earned that fan base. You can't go to America because obviously they want to support their own. They don't want to be supporting a British guy going over there. So James DeGale, very, very delusional with all that. And now reality has bit him firmly on the backside. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now. And as Eddie Hearn said, Frank Warren acted like an amateur when it come down to dealing with James DeGale. So drop your thoughts below, click that thumbs up, and of course subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.